This time on Distant Shores, I help move a boat out of the hurricane belt. A challenging 3-night offshore passage in the Caribbean from St. Martin to Grenada.
We're Sheryl and Paul Shard, hosts of the Distant Shores Sailing Adventure TV series. We've been sailing internationally for 32 years and want to help you have fun on the water too.
So we're down in St. Martin on board Distant Shores 2, getting ready for the first journey she's done in a while as I'm helping her owners move her down out of the hurricane belt here in St. Martin, down south to the edge of the hurricane belt where it's a lot safer for the summer. Doug and Maggie haven't done sailing for almost a couple of years now as there's been a lot of problems with both the COVID and the boat got embroiled in Hurricane Irma and lost her mast. So she's all put back together, and this will be one of her first big passages in a long time. So we're looking forward to that. We'll go over some of the things of night passaging and keeping watch and everything, watching out for ships. It's about nearly 400 miles south from St. Martin, through the Caribbean chain, down to Grenada. Okay, you ready for this passage?
I am. Woohoo!
With current COVID restrictions, if we island hop to Grenada, we'd have to quarantine at each island. So we're going to sail straight through and do a 3-night passage. We barely get started when we encounter our first obstacle.
Wow, look at this.
This is a large raft of Sargasso, a free-floating seaweed that lives its whole life on the open sea, never attaching to land or the sea bottom.
Wow, we are grinding to a halt here.
The boat slows down quite a lot, pushing through these tangled rafts of weed, but it's an even bigger problem when the weed gets caught on the rudders. If this grows to a large enough ball, the rudders stop working to steer the boat.
Look at the size of that. That next one looks even bigger.
Oh yeah, up there.
In the dark, it won't be possible to see these huge floating islands coming up.
Okay, so it's evening now, it's about 10:30. We've just come in between the island of Statia and over past St. Kitts. So we're going to come down the islands a little bit, making use of the fact that the islands can give a bit of a lee in the evening time, so we'll be out of the rolly seas and a little bit of the wind. So we've got what looks like a nice evening here. Those lights in the background you're seeing are St. Kitts, and it's just up ahead of that is Nevis. And then in the morning we can head off on the open water over to Montserrat and get a look at the volcanic island of Montserrat in the daylight, so that should be great. We've got the main reefed down with one reef and the self-tacking jib out. We had the Genoa earlier, but then for the evening we reefed that down to the jib instead of the Genoa for the nighttime hours. And we're just enjoying a really nice evening. Morning. It's the first morning on passage out here. It's blowing around 18, it says, and it's been a pretty blowy night. There was a squall came through and Doug was on watch of blowing 30. He put a reef in the main. It wasn't too bad. And now we've got a nice sunny day and the wind is back to 18 and normal, so we'll have to keep an eye out for the squalls. We were having difficulty getting the radar to work. Looks like we have to shut down the instruments and then start the instrument again to get the radar work. So it's something to look at when we get in. So there's hardly any traffic out here. I think we've seen maybe perhaps 3 ships underway and no yachts. It's obviously the beginning of hurricane season, so many people aren't out anyway. Okay, it's just 10 to 7 and the sun's set already. And looks like there might be a few showers tonight. We've got some squalls coming up, so we've turned on the radar. And we're sailing okay, 5.5, 6 knots. I think we're losing speed to the Sargasso weed. There is so much Sargasso around here on this trip. I've never seen so much here around in the Caribbean. We saw some enormous rafts yesterday that looked like they were a quarter mile or more long. It was incredible. So we'll see how it goes. We got some Sargasso on and we found we were going around 4.5 knots. We could put the engine in reverse and use the prop to sort of blow off all the Sargasso weed. Got rid of it all. And we sped right up to 6 in a bit. So it's incredible. So the problem is you can't see it, and you can't really avoid it anyway because it's just everywhere. Meanwhile, off to the east, there's a couple of potential developments for tropical weather coming up. We were just checking on the NOAA's weather tropical page, and they're tracking 3 potential tropical depressions that could form within the next few days. One that has a 40% chance, and the others that unlikely, but we'll keep an eye on that too. And have a good night watch.
The winds start to accelerate, and during Doug's watch we see squalls up to 32 knots, so we've reefed down the sails.
So we're just taking a little bit of a break. It's been windier than the forecast was for, and we've been bouncing around and had 2 days of making some not bad progress. So we're just at Martinique now, and we thought we would take an hour or so and just have a quiet dinner. We just pulled in behind the island, so we're not allowed to go ashore because of we're not cleared in here and the quarantine and all that. So we're just admiring the pretty shoreline and just reaching slowly along the coast while we have some dinner. Take a look over things, make sure everything's okay. We just got the jib out, the engine's off, but the jib is gently pulling us along. Take a little bit of a break, and then it's 20 miles across to St. Lucia, and we'll be behind that island for part of the night. And then we're gonna head on down St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then we're there in Grenada. So it's been 2 days, and we got another day and a half till we arrive. So we're about halfway across the channel to St. Lucia here, and we've got the wind pretty much after the beam now. We've finally turned the corner, so it's a lot more comfortable. We're not heading into it for the first time on the whole trip. And we've got about 140-50 miles to get into Grenada. This should probably be our last night. We're planning to arrive late in the afternoon, but we'll see what happens. We need to maintain about 6 knots of speed, and we should be able to do that. There are probably squalls around, but we haven't seen any yet, so I think maybe it's time to get the Genoa out and accelerate a little bit so we can make some good speed, as we're looking forward to getting in. Okay, we're passing a tugboat right beside us here. You can see the lights of the tug and the tow.
The red light indicates we're seeing the port or left-hand side of the tugboat. 2 masthead lights indicate the length of the tow is up to 200 meters long. A white light on the bow and stern of the tow indicate a partly submerged vessel or object.
It's a good idea to learn the collision regulations when you're out at sea, and it's something I like to practice. You can practice on what the lights are, identifying them, and you can see what the ships are at sea. We're just coming in the lee of St. Lucia, and we've got the next few hours should be in behind St. Lucia, so it should be a little calmer and smoother. But this right now, the winds are beautiful. We're doing 7.5 knots, and we've got sort of 18 to 20 knots of breeze and a reefed main and jib. We've had an interesting night. There was gusts around the end of the island, and there's just been so much Sargasso weed. I think the Sargasso has got itself caught in the rudders and around the keel and around the prop so many times. We've been clearing it and clearing it. But you can't see what you're doing when there's a huge raft of Sargasso in the middle of the night in the dark. You just drive straight into the raft and there's nothing you can do. So I think when Doug was on watch, we must have got a big pile of Sargasso in the rudders, and then the boat broached around, and I think the autopilot found it was just too much. And then, so now the autopilot is broken. The drive unit, you can hear the drive unit is turning, but the boat's not turning to that. So that means either the chain or gearing inside the autopilot motor drive is broken, and there's no way we can fix that. So we've got Doug hand steered through the night for about 5 hours with quite a big effort. Didn't wake anybody up. So now that we've got up on board, we're taking our turn. Maggie's at the helm there, taking her turn. She's doing a great job. So we can just see Grenada off in the distance, and we're steering to the north end of that. Hand steering down to Grenada. So a little bit of a problem with the autopilot, huh?
Yep. It seemed to object to the high seas and high winds last night.
You think you can get it out?
Yeah.
Before we crash into the beach?
Yeah, I'm not sure about before we crash into the beach, but I think I'm good.
We can just get it out on the beach. May I slow us down?
Yeah.
This chain is meant to connect the autopilot drive unit to the steering wheel on the port side. It steered the boat flawlessly for tens of thousands of miles, but the Sargasso on the rudders added a lot of load and vibration to the steering effort.
Oh, that's great. This is going to have a limited travel.
Luckily, the drive unit itself seems to be okay.
I got another wheel, I'll just use that one.
That's great.
Can't turn very much though. You don't see that every day. Someone's bicycle fell apart inside your boat, man.
Well, if you're gonna haul that apart, maybe you can find that bolt to lost.
Yeah.
The missing link.
Here it is. Oh yeah, I didn't like it at all.
Oh, is that the joiner link, is it?
No, that's a regular one.
That's a normal link? I don't know if I'd recognize the joining link if I saw it.
No.
Doug does have a spare chain, but we're just a few hours to landfall, so we can hand steer and install it later at anchor. It turns out to be a 5-minute job.
Grenada is such a gorgeous island. It's one of our favorite Caribbean islands. I think we've had so much fun in Grenada the summer we stayed here, trying to hide from the hurricanes back in 2014, and we really enjoyed it, and it's nice to come back here now. We haven't been here since then. Actually, our first trip to Grenada was way back in 1991. We came just for Christmas and then stayed a couple weeks and headed north, our first trip here. And honestly, it's just become even better since then. The island is so friendly, so welcoming, it's well worth visiting. We had a lot of fun here with joining the Hash Club, going out and running in the hills, exploring the island. We just had a great time. And I think Doug and Maggie will enjoy it too. It's really very welcoming. It's such a lush green island that's got lots of walking trails, lots of wonderful nature stuff, and super friendly people. So
oh Lord, I can't wait to go on the trail.
It's been great to be back aboard Distant Shores 2 for this passage with Doug and Maggie. I've really enjoyed the chance to being able to help them to just get into the cruising life and make sure that the passage would go okay, as they haven't done any passage making for a couple of years, and we're a little worried about just doing a dual-handed passage, which is really difficult. You know, two-handed means 4 hours on, 4 hours off, or in this case we did 6 hours on, 6 off. But it's hard work. And it was 3 days with upwind to get all the way to Martinique before you really turn the corner, and then you get a broad reach down to Grenada. But that first day and a half was pretty tough. This boat is quite good at upwind, which is good, but still it's hard work. And I really enjoyed helping them get back into the cruising life and making sure to ensure their cruise would be a success. So fair winds you too, and fair winds to everybody else. Thanks for tuning in on Distant Shores, and we'll see you next time.
All right. To Maggie, I don't think I heard you
Cheers.
complain once.
We had a great time, a big adventure.
When did we get here? What day is it? Where am I? Who's on first? So this is Sunday.
Yep.
We got here.
Got in on
Tuesday.
We were stuck in
We
quarantine.
left on Friday.
Right.
Got it. Yeah, it's the first one I've done of any length. I've done overnights before. I've never done a watch on my own before, even doing overnights. So that was something I was not looking forward to, and that was something that Paul was a really big help in boosting my self-confidence. And we went over a lot of standard. I mean, it's been a few years since I've sailed, so this was kind of a big leap to do this as the first thing after not having done anything for so long. So kind of going over a lot of the fundamental stuff and things to be watching for constantly while you're on watch. And every once in a while he'd stand up and go, "We're supposed to be looking for boats." And I go, "Yes, we're supposed to be looking for boats." So a lot of fundamental things were kind of just brought back in front of my mind. So that was huge. And I've made notes, and I will have that for the next time around. I don't know when we'll do a few days in a row again, but this was a huge leap in experience for me and a huge leap of confidence. Mostly because someone had my back for somebody very experienced, knowledgeable, and patient. I got to add in patient. We were doing a sail change at one point, and I'm fumbling with lines. He goes, "Okay, you're not quite on the right track. Can I get in there?" And I know what I did wrong now, so that was very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. We did something a little different. We did 6-hour watches,
Yes.
so 12 to 6 and 6 to 12, and Paul sort of interspersed between that, so I was able to really experience the full thing. We had everything. I mean, we had squalls. We had autopilot failures. We had wonderful sailing. We had. But it was a great experience, and I know Maggie was saying that she feels a lot more confident now in her ability to actually take on longer passages, which was starting to worry her before that. Yeah.
I will keep shooting you questions because I'm sure we still have lots that you could answer.